This is every Skyrim mod you should be using in 2024, as well as just some mods that I personally used for years and would never go without. I'm going to be going through each mod quite quickly so I can fit more into this video without wasting your time. Instantly skip dialogue is a true must-have. This mod allows you to skip any dialogue instantly, meaning that you can now skip dialogue that you couldn't bypass before from characters like the Augur of Dunlane, Moloch Bull, and most obviously, Hermaeus Mora, as you can now just skip right through. However, there are still a few lines that the author couldn't figure out how to skip, which is only a little hiccup in an otherwise perfect mod. Either way, if you're sick of having to hear Hermaeus Mora's 5-minute rant every playthrough, install this mod. Lockpicking in Skyrim can be quite annoying. Remember, lockpicking angle makes it less annoying. When your lockpick breaks, the game puts it at the starting angle, which makes it harder to remember where you were, especially on tough locks. The mod simply makes it so that it keeps the new lockpick at the same angle where the last one broke, which just means less guessing and more streamlined lockpicking. Now let's discuss a mod that I forgot wasn't a vanilla feature, Forget Spell. As your magical power increases, your spell menu can become cluttered with a lot of spells that are no longer relevant to your current level. This clutter can obviously range from novice spells that are outlived their usefulness, to redundant spells that no longer fit your character's build, or quest-related spells that are now useless. Forget Spell allows you to remove them all with a click of a hotkey. Simply hover over the target spell and then click the Forget key. Really simple, and really strange this wasn't a vanilla feature, considering it was already in Morrowind. It's also great for players who are playing as warriors and don't want to use magic at all, as it allows you to get rid of the default healing and flame spell. Next we have better jumping, which makes it so you can jump while sprinting. Once you play with this mod, you will never want to have it off. Now for the first of the animations, I use no spinning death animation, which does exactly what it says, and removes the silly spin that happens either when you die or an enemy dies. Next, I use Assorted animation fixes, which encompasses a variety of animation fixes, like at the end of the torch idle animation, it stops your character from twitching strangely. It also fixes the issue caused by wielding a staff on your right hand and spell on your left, as before it causes the left-handed spell to float up in the wrong position. It also fixes a few more things, but they're all in the same vein, fixing some of the more sloppily made vanilla animations. For a mod by the same author, I also use Pristine vanilla movement. Maybe you haven't, but have you ever noticed how weird your hands look when you run, or how the walking and running animations just don't loop right? This mod fixes those problems. Your character will have a bit of bounce when they run, making the movement feel more relaxed and realistic. Now for combat, we have Precision. This mod makes fighting feel more real and immersive, thanks to a bunch of cool features. First up, Precision changes how hitting works in game. When you swing your weapon, you'll only hit what's actually in front of it. This means if you're swinging a sword, or even using your fists, you'll hit all the enemies that come into your weapon's path. This means you can hit every enemy in front of you at once, though you can set the limits on how many enemies you can hit in one swing in the mod configuration menu. Another cool thing Precision adds is realistic reactions when you hit enemies. They won't just stand there anymore, they'll move or flinch, making the hit feel way more satisfying. Then there's the weapon trails that can be seen when you swing a weapon. They actually change color based on your weapon's enchantment. Precision also makes hits feel heavier, with a hit stop feature that pauses the action for a split second and shakes the camera a bit when you land a hit, making you feel the power of your attacks, which works especially well for things like warhammers. And with the mod installed, you'll even notice how your attacks bounce back a bit when you hit certain materials up close, adding more to the realism. And the best part is that you can customize almost everything through the mod configuration menu, so you can make combat feel exactly how you like it. Precision is a game changer for me, and I can't imagine playing without it now. It's a serious upgrade over the original game. Next, we have the Magic Sneak Attacks mod. This mod does exactly what the name suggests. It lets you sneak attack with magic. Before, you obviously couldn't do this. Only physical attacks worked for sneak attacks, but now spells and shouts that shoot something like Fire Breath or Ice Spike can be used quietly for extra damage. I don't know why Bethesda didn't include this in the original game, as it's not overpowered or anything, but with this mod you can play in a new way that mixes stealth and magic. Now for a mod that I believe is essential for any Skyrim modder's toolkit, we have Trainwreck, a crash logger. Using Trainwreck is really straightforward. When Skyrim crashes, which, as many of us know, can happen for loads of reasons when mods are involved, Trainwreck activates. It automatically generates a text file containing a crash report. This report doesn't just give you a heap of indecipherable data, instead it points you towards the mods that are most likely causing the instability. While it can't be 100% accurate, it's still really helpful in troubleshooting. I've covered this mod in one of my previous videos, so I'll just share the same example I did there here, so you can better understand the mod. So my game was crashing on launch after I'd been adjusting my mod list. So instead of disabling and re-enabling all the mods to identify the offender, Trainwreck pinpointed that consoleutil.dll was the probable cause of my crashing. A quick check in my mod manager confirmed that I'd been using an outdated version of consoleutil, leading to me disabling it, which resolved my game crashing. Another bonus of Trainwreck is that it will likely never become obsolete, as it was made to be compatible with all of Skyrim's inevitable future updates. Lightened Skyrim improves game performance by removing small, hard-to-notice items like certain plants, clutter, rocks, as well as stuff underground that you never see anyways. It cleans up both the wilderness areas and the interiors of the 5 major cities. The goal is to make the game run smoother without you even noticing any of the removed details. It's really simple and basically a free performance upgrade. For another extremely simple addition, we have Skyrim Priority. This mod is all about making your game run better, and what it does is simple. It sets Skyrim as high priority in your computer's task manager. Normally you could do this manually, but it's a hassle to do it every time you play, so Skyrim Priority automates this process. By giving Skyrim high priority, your computer focuses more on running the game, which means it will probably stutter less and lead to smoother gameplay. It's a small change that can make a difference in how well Skyrim runs on your computer. But before we continue, I'd just like to thank Warthunder for sponsoring this video. Warthunder stands as the most extensive vehicle combat game ever created, with over 70 million players worldwide, and it's available for free on both PC and consoles. You get to control over 2,500 different tanks, planes, helicopters and ships from 10 major nations. Warthunder's vehicle damage system is also highly detailed, so you aren't just fighting moving green boxes that can shoot. Each vehicle has specific parts like engines, fuel tanks, weapons, and a crew that can get damaged from enemy fire. And on top of that, the game has a cool X-ray feature. When a part of a vehicle gets damaged, it shows where the shot went in, what parts got hit, and what caused the vehicle to be destroyed. You can play Warthunder for free on PC, PlayStation and Xbox using my link in the description or the pinned comment to sign up. New accounts, or those of you who haven't played in at least 6 months, get a huge bonus pack including 3 premium vehicles, 100,000 silver lions, 7 days premium account time and more. This offer is only for a short period, so get it before it's gone. Now for another series of mods that I couldn't really see why you wouldn't use, we have Environs. Skyrim feels the same no matter what happens, be it civil wars, dragon attacks or vampire threats. Essentially these mods dynamically change locations in game to better reflect what's going on in the world around them. For instance, there's the Ruined Tundra farmhouse mod. It's near Whiterun between the Western Watchtower and Fort Greymore, and the mod changes the farmhouse as you play. It initially starts the game intact with 2 elderly occupants, but as the dragon attacks the Western Watchtower, it gets destroyed along with its 2 residents. After enough time has passed, a new NPC will come along to start to repair the broken house. After some more time has passed and the NPC has fully cleared all the debris and has repaired the home, he'll settle down and he'll be joined by his wife and child. Its purpose is to better reflect the consequences of the dragons returning to Skyrim. Or for something quite different, we have the Rift and Warehouse mod. After you finish the supply and demand quest, which involves you stopping a skoomer operation within the Rift, instead of the warehouse on Riften's docks sitting completely idle and vacant, it turns into an outpost for the East Empire Company. It becomes a shop with 2 new NPCs, who the mod author has given dialogue by splicing vanilla lines together. And the change isn't instantaneous, it happens slowly so it feels more natural. Then there's Frogar's house. After you completed the Pale Lady quest, which starts with you talking to Issa Blackthorn, she'll simply make her way back to Morthal and just sit in the inn for the rest of the game. So instead of completely wasting our character, the mod makes it so that after you've completed the Later Rest quest involving Alva and Frogar, Issa will now start to rebuild Frogar's burnt down house. Once the house is fixed, you can make Issa your follower. Issa also talks more with new dialogue made from existing voice lines. She fights with the game's usual followers like Lydia, and you can even marry her. And that was only 3 of the mods, there are 8 in total, that all make similar small changes to certain locations in the game. So again, I'd download this mod as there really isn't a reason not to. Moving on to another essential mod that, while it may appear simple at first glance, is actually very useful. Read or Take. In the vanilla game, attempting to pick up a book forces you to open it, which is slightly annoying because you have to close it again, but the larger issue is that you can't save skill books. This mod introduces a solution, allowing players to choose between reading a book immediately or taking it with them to read later. By simply holding the shift key, you can toggle between reading or taking the book. As I said, this is super handy for skill books, letting you save them for when it's tougher to level up. It's a really small tweak, but it fixes something that should have really been in the game from the start. As a bonus, there's also the Use or Take mod, which adds the same functionality to other items in game. So for example, instead of having to pick food off the table, add it to your inventory, and then select it to eat it, you can just eat it right off the plate. Now let's move on to a user interface mod, where the focus on a game aspect you interact with extremely frequently, but might not give much thought to. Locks. We're looking at a security overhaul lock variations. This one introduces an array of unique lock designs, ensuring that the lock you're picking isn't just another generic metal lock, but it's tailored to its location. So now Dwemer chests will have Dwemer locks, the Eerie Falmer camps will have Troris locks that you definitely shouldn't question the shape of, or even Snow Elven chests hidden within the Forgotten Vale that you can find chests in Apocrypha with their own locks, along with those frost-encrusted chests dotting the landscapes of Skyrim, now boasting their unique locks. But don't worry, it doesn't end there. There are also 2 add-ons. There's regional locks and lock add-ons. Regional locks provides a sense of uniqueness to the cities of Skyrim by offering specialized locks for places like Whiterun, Ravenrock, Solitude, Windhelm, and Riften. It even extends its detail to the College of Winterhold and Tel Mithrin. On the other hand, Lock add-ons expands the variety further, bringing in new lock styles from the Iliad and Nordic ruins, the Dark Soul Cairn, and even includes a special lock for the tension cable found on trapped chests, not to mention the worn-out waterlogged chest locks. Again, this is just another mod that should have really been implemented in the vanilla game, as it's just that good. In an ideal world, Bethesda would have just absorbed this mod into the vanilla game for the Anniversary Edition. Better third-person selection makes interacting with objects in third person way easier. You don't have to aim exactly at something to pick it up anymore, just aiming in the general direction works, which means you can grab small things like coins without having to switch to first person. Also, you can use shift and mouse wheel to quickly switch between objects near you based on what the mod thinks is most important. This mod is a great help for making the game more enjoyable to play in third person. The Compass Navigation Overhaul introduces a suite of new quality of life features that transform how you interact with the game's world through your compass. It adds names and distances to the markers on the compass, which helps you to know how far away you are from a place and if it's higher or lower than you. This is especially useful for planning routes, especially when you're near a cliff or mountain. There's a variety of settings you can change. You can choose if map markers show the goal or place or person they're about, as when you look at a quest marker, you'll see a list of current goals for that quest. This means that you spend less time in menus and more time actually playing the game. The mod also lets you decide if you want to see undiscovered places only if you've unlocked them on the map, or if you want to see enemies on the compass, as it's more realistic not knowing, because knowing where enemies are through walls doesn't really fit the game's reality. In short, the Compass Navigation Overhaul is another must-have for Skyrim if you want a smoother, more streamlined gameplay experience. Now let's get a little bit more controversial with some graphic mods. In this section I've basically only included mods that look way better than vanilla, and there isn't really another mod that does the job as well. Starting off, I can't see myself ever uninstalling visual animated enchantments. This mod makes enchanted weapons look at least 10 times cooler with new enchantment effects. It does not tamper with the power levels or inherent effects of the enchantments. Instead, it focuses solely on elevating the aesthetic appeal of each weapon. Every weapon, be it a trusty sword you've carried from the beginning, or a legendary axe discovered in the depths of a forgotten dungeon, is now adorned with a new, sleek swirling enchantment pattern. Now keep in mind that I'm using an old version of the mod. There's a newer version by the author made with all new weapon effects that are unique to each enchantment. Like how lifesteal weapons will now have a magical red aura, flame enchanted weapons will look as if they're actually on fire, and soul trap weapons will now have a purple glow. I just personally prefer the older, simpler version as I think it looks sleeker, though whatever you choose, either option is a massive upgrade to vanilla. FleshFX does away with the unappealing green glow that's applied to your character every time you use an alteration protection spell. Instead, it introduces a series of new animated textures that look a lot better. Each spell now boasts a unique texture that corresponds to its nature. For instance, when you cast Oak Flesh, your character's skin takes on a wooden brown texture. On the other hand, Ebony Flesh has a more black texture, reflecting its protective power. Keep in mind that these will only show on your character's skin, so you won't see them on top of your armor. I just think it's a simple upgrade to the boring vanilla glow. Enchantment Table Variants by Wielding Man is an unrivaled upgrade to the amenity that you see and use so often in your playthroughs. It introduces custom textures that make these tables have a more rustic appeal, coupled with high quality details like the skull and candles that make it look so much better. Though it not only upgrades the vanilla table, but also adds new variants that you can find, like the new vampire table that can be found in the halls of Castle Volkihar or in the dimly lit recesses of Broken Fang Cave. Similarly, you can find the necromancer variants secluded in Anita's cabin and Fort Snowhawk. That's just far more grim than the original, with it being layered in blood. Or for those fascinated by the Dwemer's ancient technologies, the mod introduces a Dwemer variant, which you can find used by Calcimo himself in Understone Keep. Lastly, the mod adds an alchemy themed variant in Riften, used by the Bosmer court mage Rolandria. All in all, it's a fantastic upgrade to a workstation that you're bound to see and use often in your playthroughs. Now this one is very subjective, but I'm still going to include it as I would never play without it. We have no camera filters. This mod does something really simple. It gets rid of almost all the camera effects. This means no more blood splatter on your screen, no weird colors when you cast magic or use shouts, and no distortion from explosions. I personally really don't like stuff like blood splatter effects on your screen, as it's supposed to make it seem like blood got on a camera, but it doesn't really make sense when you're supposed to be in the game, seeing through your character's eyes. This mod keeps your view clear, so nothing pulls you out of the experience. Daedric Shrines is a simple yet very atmospheric mod. It adds in or replaces the shrine for each respective Daedric prince around Skyrim. For instance, there's the new shrine to Meridia, which I think looks even better than the original, with a completely new shrine to Molag Bal that can be found in both Morvast Lair and Castle Volkihar. The same goes for all the other Daedric princes. Their shrine has been replaced if they already had one, but if they didn't, it's been added to a fitting location, like the new shrine to Hircine that can be found in Falkreath's Wilderness. And as an added bonus, you can optionally add in a Shrine to Jiggalag, which can be found just south of Lake Ilanalta. All in all, this is a great mod that really integrates well with the game, especially if you're running religion mods. Now for some of the best retextures ever made, we have Xavbio's armor retextures. Xavbio has created armor textures for almost every wearable item in game, be it leather armor, mage robes, or ebony armor. He has made a great retexture for it. What's even better is that his textures also encompass the content added by the Creation Club, so all the new alternate armors receive the same makeover. There are also bonus additions, like making the unique Armor of the Old God set actually have unique textures by making it white, rather than it just being the default Forsworn armor with a cool enchantment. Lux changes the game by completely reworking the interior lighting. The author behind the mod took the original game's lighting and basically made it way better, and they didn't just tweak settings, they rebuilt lights from scratch and hand placed them carefully in every indoor area. Lux is great for making the game's interiors look not just better, but more realistic, especially if you're using an EMB. With Lux, you'll notice that every indoor space, from dungeons to taverns, looks more consistent and real. Now this is a tiny mod, but one I had to include. JS Dragon Claws simply upgrades the look of the Dragon Claws in Skyrim. The new models and textures make these items look amazing, and since you run into Dragon Claws a lot in game, this mod makes finding them more interesting by making them look better. Now for NPCs. Now this is a very subjective area, so I've only included 2 mods that I don't believe have a rival and are a complete upgrade to vanilla. Bits and Pieces skin textures, along with its race-based textures add-on, is a combo that completely changes how characters look, making the characters definitely prettier, whilst not going completely overboard. The race-based textures add-on takes it further by giving each race its own unique look. For example, orcs look bulkier and stronger, dark elves are thinner and look a bit bony, and Bretons are a bit flabbier in comparison. If you're worried these changes might be a bit too much, there's an option to tone them down during installation, so you can choose a subtler look or go with the default to keep the textures consistent across all the races. High poly head is a staple if you want even better looking characters. It essentially upgrades the shape of your head in game to be more detailed, smoother, and less jagged due to it adding more polygons. It's just a complete upgrade to vanilla. Now we turn our attention to a series of mods that breathes new life into the game's NPC interactions. J Serpa's Line Expansion series is a fantastic addition. Now this isn't just one mod, it's a series that J Serpa's made to greatly expand the amount of dialogue generic NPCs have. For example, in Bandit Lines expansion, it introduces nearly 500 unique lines for bandits alone, ensuring that each encounter feels more distinct. Bandits now express a wide range of emotions and thoughts, from reflections on their chosen path of life, to thoughts on their personal desires and regrets.
Should have known she was lying. She said she'd wait for me. But they never wait.
The bandits will also have more personalized comments on the player's actions during combat, which just helps to break the chain of hearing the same few lines over and over.
You want a real fight, eh? Come on. You want the first, and you won't be the last.
Though as I said, it doesn't just stop at bandits. There's also a mod to extend to the Dremora, which was made to be used with the additional Dremora Faces mod. So all in all, the pair introduced over 7 new voice types and over 100 dialogue lines, including some for the new female Dremora, to diversify the previously few lines they had. Vampires 2 benefit from the expansion, gaining access to approximately 150 new lines. These additions are particularly designed to reflect the vampire's complex nature and are triggered by specific conditions, so vampires will now react to things such as the player's combat style. There are also mods to give the Forsworn, Stormcloaks, and Imperials the same treatment, which I just think helps to further add to the game's depth and replayability, with dialogue that adapts to various factors such as the time of day, player attributes, and situational context. NPCs in Skyrim are now far more reactive and intelligent. Now for this section, we're just going to rapid fire through a lot of mods that are either seen as a standard or fix issues within Skyrim that you should use. Power of 3's tweaks fixes a load of bugs, with one of them being that your conjuration spells can get absorbed if you have any sort of spell absorption. The unofficial Skyrim patch is a no-brainer that fixes countless issues, though some people don't use it because some of the changes it makes definitely extends beyond fixing bugs, like how it adds a whole new bedroom to the Ragged Flagon so the NPCs can sleep. But even if you aren't a fan of changes like that, it's still very much worth using. SSE engine fixes a lot of bugs, with the most noticeable of which being that in the vanilla game, enemies can sometimes spawn in with their perk effects applied twice, so if they had a perk that simply gave them more damage, you would likely take a lot more damage than you were meant to. Sky UI turns the user interface designed for controller users into something more PC friendly, and Race Menu greatly expands upon the customization options available in the character creator. Thanks again to Warthunder for sponsoring this video. You can play it for free on PC, PlayStation or Xbox. Just use my link in the pinned comment or video description. Remember, those of you who are new or haven't played in at least 6 months will receive the bonus pack. And that's everything for today. If you want some more mods, you can check out this video that YouTube thinks you'll like. Thanks for watching.